consciousness, presence, and your true nature? Question. What I seem to find is that in the space between thoughts, all there is a generalized sense of awareness, but when one looks a little closer at that, or feels one's way into it, there is somewhere in the midst of it all, at least this is how it feels, a sort of core sense of a me that feels more like a presence, a sort of observer, if you like, that is untouched by the things of which it is aware. But this center is clearly not the David Williams that I always took it for. In fact, it does not seem to have any qualities at all, apart from this sense of being there at the core. It does require attention to notice it, though. Does any of this make any sense? Response. This impersonal sense of being, presence, or knowingness is the space in which thoughts and all else appear and disappear. It is also often spoken of as consciousness or the witness. It is not a me as such, meaning a limited, isolated person or entity. It is impersonal consciousness. At the level of appearances, this essential conscious presence is what you are. In a sense, you could call it the real or essential you. Keep in mind that the presence of consciousness is not a conceptual I, with its sense of limitations, problems, doubts, and personal suffering. The limited personal me is born of the identification of this conscious presence with the body, mind, and or personality. This ego sense is a conceptual construct that arises from the identification of consciousness with objects, body, senses, and mind. That ego notion is a false I because it is a product of conceptualization, which is itself an appearance in the conscious presence. A powerful initial step in recognizing your true identity is to see yourself not as the body, mind, and personality, but as the witness of those things, or the space of consciousness in which they appear. When you look finely into this, you will see that consciousness, or the witness, is relative. That is to say, it is an appearance also, a transient experience. Consciousness is not always present. It comes and goes in what I would call non-conceptual awareness, or the space that is prior to consciousness. You, as non-conceptual awareness, are aware of the fact of being conscious or being present. You are the basic space or pure awareness in which consciousness comes and goes. This sounds more complicated than it actually is, because we are only talking about your natural state or fundamental being as it presently is. You recognize not only the coming and going of objects, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, feelings, and so on, but also the consciousness in which they occur. When you are not conscious, in deep sleep, under anesthetic, and so on, you still are. Later you say, I was unconscious and did not know anything. Clearly you existed and there was some basic cognizance, even of the fact of being unconscious. That in you now, which I call non-conceptual awareness, is what recognizes what you are calling the core sense of me or presence. Keep in mind that that experience itself is being recognized by something which is what you really are in the deepest sense. Anything you can see in this limited field of vision is not you. What people often miss is that consciousness, or presence, is still an experience in the microscope. It is like the artificial light within the microscope that is illuminating the objects seen in it. That is why the sense of consciousness or presence still retains a subtle objective quality or sense of limitation. Pure, non-conceptual awareness is utterly outside of duality, has no qualities, and no me sense at all. It cannot be grasped or experienced by the mind. It is simply what you are prior to any experience or conceptualization. You are aware of objects, but you're also aware of being conscious. The state of being conscious will certainly pass, so it cannot be your most essential core reality. When consciousness goes, you remain as what you are and always have been. This is non-dual awareness that is not even aware of itself as an object, as there is no second thing present there of which to be aware. That is one without a second, or pure non-duality.